What's up, guys? Weatherman here, bringing you the latest from Bing Field. In today's video, I'm going to be covering the top 5 ways I think you can improve your game almost instantly. Now, a majority of what I'm going to be covering in this topic are things that you can do at home, things you do before you arrive at the field, and a couple of things that you can actually do while you're out there playing that will instantly improve your game. Now, all of these topics are things that I believe, things that I've noticed over the years that people tend to lack in their game, and obviously other people might have a different opinions, but I've ordered them in such a way to kind of let you know the importance of where it stands on this list. I've been working on this list really for about a year now. I've really wanted to bring something to the forefront, quick, easy tip video that can help out newer, younger players or even seasoned players up their game, because it's easy to fall into the rut of wanting to get better but not really knowing what it is you're doing wrong or what you can do better to really kind of set yourself apart from everyone else out there on the field. So this is going to be that list. This is what I think you can do in your spare time or even while you're out there playing to instantly make yourself better than your competition. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Kicking things off at number 5 is fitness, eating, and hydration. Now, I originally only wanted to put one topic here, but at the end of the day, these all three kind of tie into one another. So I'm going to break it down bit by bit, and we'll start with fitness. If you spend some time, a little bit of time each week, just going out running or exercising, that will also help improve your gameplay. Why is that? Because if you have peak fitness, you can have peak performance. The longer you exercise and the more you exercise, the longer you'll last out there in the airsoft field. And if you develop the skills to go along with that on the airsoft field, that means that you're going to be performing at a higher level than your opponents as you go throughout the day. And now that we're entering the dog days of summer, this is where you'll notice it the most. People tend to gas out very quickly when they're dealing with the kind of heat that you have here in the Midwest, not to mention the humidity that comes along with it. Basically, it's a war of attrition. Everyone on that first game is going to be at their highest energy level, and they're all going to be performing at their best. But if you really want to improve your game, make sure you're the one that at the end of the day, you're still stomping people into the ground because you still have energy, you still have the endurance to keep driving. So that is a big one. Eating healthy is actually another big one. And I'm going to target the kids on this. If you're starting off your day with a Pop-Tart and a Mountain Dew, you're probably not going to do too well out there. Why? Because you don't really have any nutrition to help fuel. If you have that fitness already going for you, you need the right fuel to empower you throughout the day. If you're eating junk food the night before and you're hydrating during the day, drinking a Mountain Dew and Monster Energy, while you may think you have good energy, in reality you really don't, and you're only hurting yourself. So if you fuel up with something good in the morning, you'll actually notice a substantial difference in your performance as you go throughout the day. Just to give you an example, I start off every Saturday and Sunday with scrambled eggs, bacon, some toast, some V8 juice, as well as water. So I get plenty of nutrients, plenty of sugars, carbs, proteins, and even some fats to help get my day going right. And then I hydrate and top it all off with a little bit of water. Speaking of hydration, that's another big one. It's hot outside. If you're not properly hydrating as you go throughout the day, you're going to suffer from the effects of dehydration. Now, you might not reach the critical mass of dehydration where you pass out on the field, but the more you dehydrate, the less your muscles can properly function, and you can eventually succumb to things like cramps. So if you start off with fitness, fitness, eating, and hydration, you'll notice substantial improvements in your gameplay almost instantly. Coming in at number 4 on this list is aiming. Yeah, you heard that right. I said aiming. Believe it or not, this is something I've actually noticed a lot at Bing Field. There's some people who don't really aim their weapons. They kind of look down the side of their guns, they point them out of windows, and I'm shocked at the fact that I can sometimes be fully exposed, out of cover, and no one hit me. And I don't know why that is. But I'm going to chalk this one up to the fact that they're maybe not properly aiming. So we're going to break it down a little bit, step by step. But this is something that's usually forgotten more in younger players than the older, more experienced players who actually do take the time to aim their weapons. And one thing you kind of want to do when you're aiming is don't just point and fire as quickly as you can. Take that extra half a second to do a really good aim, because sometimes if you miss that first shot, that's all the enemy needs to react to what you're doing and get behind cover before you can take your second shot. So a couple things I want to touch on here. If you have an optic on your gun, take a little bit of time to zero it. I know some people are going to give me crap. Why would you ever take time to zero your optic on an airsoft rifle? The aim is already going to be off because they're plastic BBs, but it gives you a base point that you can always readjust your aim off of. My airsoft rifle is zeroed in at about 50 feet, which is where most engagement distance are going to happen. Beyond 50 feet, obviously I know I need to probably aim my sight a little bit higher up, or to the right or to the left, depending on how the wind's blowing or however the heck my gun decides it wants to shoot that day. Another thing you can do is watch where your rounds are going. Don't just shoot and be like, hey, why am I not hitting this guy? Well, are you watching where your rounds are going? Are they hitting to the right or are they hitting to the left? I've actually sat out in the open and watched people unload full auto mags at me, and the BBs are like landing 15 feet off to my right. And they keep shooting, and it's like, hey, at some point, are you ever going to adjust your aim to where the BBs are hitting me and not the bush off to my right? So pay attention to where your rounds are landing, and that's also going to tie into something I'm going to cover a little bit later on. But also, know the range of your weapon. If your weapon is only shooting at a max range of about 100 feet, or if you don't have it narrowed down to feet, at least know visually how far your rounds are going to go. It helps out a lot to not waste your ammo. A lot of people tend to shoot at me while I'm standing in the open, and I let them shoot at me while I'm standing in the open because their guns can't reach me. Most of the time, they're not even coming close to me. And the reason I know they're not going to hit me at those ranges is because I know the range of my gun, and if my gun can't reach them, it's highly unlikely their gun is going to reach me. So knowing the exact range, even if it's not the exact range, but having a good idea, will help you save ammo, but it will also let you know where you need to be on the battlefield in order to actually properly engage the enemy. I can't tell you how many times, though, I literally will just stand out in the open and let people shoot at me just to waste their ammo. And I'm sure some of them are sitting there thinking, oh, this guy's not calling his hits. Nope, you're just not coming anywhere close to me. Final thing I want to touch on for aiming is make sure you take into account the wind. Some people kind of forget about it, but it's a big factor. If you have the wind blowing in your face as you're advancing towards the enemy, you might want to get closer than you normally would, because the wind is really going to make your BBs fall short. Additionally, if the wind's at your back, be brazen. Stand out in the open. Use the fact that you have the wind at your back to A, stop the enemy's BBs, but B, give your BBs a boost in speed as well as distance to properly engage the enemy. I do this all the time on trenches. This is probably my favorite tactic on trenches. You get a good solid wind coming in out of the west, and I can just sit over there on the one side of trenches and just lob BBs straight at people, and there's nothing they can do about it. They can't reach me, but I can easily reach them and start picking them off one by one. Coming in at number 3 on the list is shooting off-handed, or ambidextrous shooting. Now, if you watch many of my videos, you probably can't pinpoint if I'm right or left-handed. And the reason for that is I shoot with both hands. I don't really have a dominant shooting hand. The best you can determine is I'm right-handed, because I almost always will have the rifle in my right hand as I go to reload with my left. But if you watch how I play, I shoot very, very, very frequently with my left hand and with my right hand, and I'm really just as good shooting with either hand when engaging the enemy. This is a big one. And this will kind of be the beginning of getting into the really big things that can improve your game. By knowing how to shoot with my left hand, I can minimize the target that I'm presenting to the enemy, because I can switch my firing shoulder to engage targets that are on the left side of a piece of cover. And I can then reversely switch back over to my right to engage targets on the right side of cover. And by doing that, I'm minimizing the target that I present to the enemy, so I'm less likely to get shot. This one's not so much about getting more kills as it is not getting shot as frequently. So that's why this one lands at number 3, and really there's not much else that I can talk about with it. So what I would recommend you do is when you're at home alone, or whenever, practice with your left hand. Get familiar using the weapon with your left hand. Obviously don't go shooting holes in the drywall of your parents' house or your own house, but move around the house using your left hand as your main hand for engaging. This way you can, or your right hand if you're right-handed, but by doing this you're going to become more familiar with the weapon, more comfortable with the weapon in your offhand, and as a result you're going to do a better job out there on the battlefield. Now that we're cracking into the top 2 of my list, these are big ones. These are things that you can do while you're actually out there on the field, and you actually have to spend some time and effort to get good at them. And this one is going to be situational awareness. Some people have zero situational awareness on the field. They are so tunnel visioned out there, it's not even funny. It's like they don't even realize that they're being flanked. They don't realize that there's people behind them. They don't realize like their teammates are dying left, right, and middle. And honestly, I have no understanding as to how you don't realize that. But I'm going to chalk that up to tunnel vision. This is the biggest hindrance when it comes to situational awareness. The adrenaline's going. You're focused on killing the enemy. You basically lose all sense of situational awareness because you're so hyper-focused on what's directly in front of you. This still happens to me sometimes. It happens to everyone. It's almost unavoidable. But if you practice, you can avoid it. So when you start catching yourself, in that tunnel vision mode of all you see is what's directly in front of you, ask yourself, what's going on around me? And if you don't know what's going on around you, take a quick second to turn your head to the left and right, scan your eyes, get a lay of the battlefield. Hey, where are the other enemies on the field? Where are my allies? How many people are still over here with me? Am I by myself, or are there 60 other people right behind me? By doing this, it's going to help you out immensely, because if you understand what the current situation is around you, you can make better decisions out there. You can be more aggressive if you have extra allies on your side. You can be more defensive if you realize the enemy is starting to get more reinforcements. Sometimes the enemy might get tunnel vision and there's a hole in their defense that they don't even know is there, and you can utilize it. But you can't utilize it if you're so hyper-focused yourself that you don't even realize there's other people on the field besides you and the enemy you're looking at. So take a little time and effort to avoid tunnel vision. Additionally, pay attention to angles. Whenever I approach a situation, a building, a piece of cover, the first thing I do is take mental notes on what angles do people have on me. Where's the enemy? Where can I be shot at from while I'm here at this position? And that includes little things like the murder holes that some of the buildings out at Bing have, and some of the buildings pretty much at any field are going to have. Pay attention to those little details, because they might just save your life. If you know where the enemy can engage you from, you are better prepared to defend yourself from those attacks. In addition to that, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, have a mental mini-map. You've all played video games. You've seen the mini-map there on the bottom right corner of your screen. But if you have a mental mini-map, you know where your allies are in the immediate vicinity, you know where the enemy is, you're better prepared to adapt to any situation that's thrown your way. In one of my earlier after-action reports, you might remember I said, hey, at this point, I realized I'm by myself. The reason I knew I was by myself wasn't because I went back and reviewed the footage and said, yep, I'm alone. The reason I knew I was by myself is because I took mental notes of where all my allies are. So once the enemies pressed in on my position, I was able to instantly diagnose, hey, I'm by myself right now. I'm the last person standing on my team, so I need to immediately change my tactics in order to not be the last person to die on my team. I need to do something right now that is a little bit different because I'm by myself. And if you pay attention to those little details, again, you'll see an instant improvement in your game. And the number one way you can improve your game right now is snap shooting. This is the delicate art of popping around a corner, firing a single shot, and disappearing behind that corner again before the enemy even has time to react. Now, if done properly, you do this so quickly, you hit the enemy probably before they've even fired their weapon, depending on what range you're at. But it is very, very lethal. This is the one single thing that I have learned over the years that has probably made me get more kills than anything else I've learned. More so than learning how to clear a building, more so than upping my rifle and souping it up really cool. Snap shooting is a single thing that has gotten me more kills than anything else I've done in Airsoft. And the way you go about doing this is really kind of simple, but it takes time and practice to get very, very good at it. The first thing you want to do is you want to look around a corner. You don't even have to have your gun up, but just peek around a corner, find where the enemy is, take a mental snapshot of everything, where the buildings are located, where the enemy's located in relation to the building, roughly how high he is, pretty much where you're basically going to have to aim to shoot this guy. Once you're back behind cover, take about a step or so back from the building you're using as cover. Take aim at where that enemy is going to be, and once you have him kind of mentally in your sights, peek the corner, fire the shot, and duck back behind corner. This could take a little time to get really, really good at, but once you get really good at it, you'll find that you're very accurate, and you'll find that you're pretty safe doing it, and you don't have to really worry about being shot as a result, because you're doing this way more quickly than they are. Now, a couple of drawbacks to this is when you take that step back from the building in order to actually aim your rifle at that person while you're still behind cover, that could potentially expose you to new angles of fire from the enemy. So make sure you have that situational awareness and you understand that you're in a position where you can safely do this, because far too often people will take that step back thinking they're safe and then get shot from an angle they didn't know existed because they weren't paying attention. Now, the key to this is pretty much developing your reflexes, because sometimes you'll peek around a corner and realize you don't have your sights exactly where they need to be, so you have to quickly adjust your aim, fire the shot while still disappearing behind cover. This is a big reflex kind of skill that you'll develop. But again, another major drawback to this is you get so hyper focused on the enemy and doing that snap shooting, you sometimes get tunnel vision really, really badly. I've succumbed to this quite a lot, but you have to make sure that you're dispatching the enemy quickly enough so that way the tunnel vision doesn't set in, because the longer a little engagement goes on with you trying to do this snap shooting, the higher the probability is that you're going to get so hyper focused on them, a new target pops up, so the next time you peek that corner, you get shot in the face instead of shooting someone else in the face. That's going to conclude this top 5 list for the things that I believe can improve your game almost instantly. You might disagree with some of them, you might agree with some of them, you might think something else needs to be added to this video, but in my experience, these 5 things alone can be a big asset to any and all airsofters out there, whether it's your first day playing or you've been playing for 10 years. These are useful tips in my opinion, and hopefully you find them just as useful, and hopefully you'll find a way to actually start implementing them out there while you're playing. I appreciate everybody stopping by and watching the video. Give it a nice big like, and if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and throw a subscribe on there as well. Feel free to leave comments down in the comments section. I do my best to reply to any and all comments that are left on my videos. I enjoy talking with you guys. I especially like it when some of the younger crowd gets involved, because the younger crowd is the future of this sport. We can't all do this forever. We all grow old, get married, and eventually kind of lose access to our weekends to get out there and sling some plastic with folks. So we got to get this newer crowd involved. So feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and a comment down below, and I will be more than happy to talk to you. And I enjoy playing with all of you guys. I had a couple of people actually come out today as I'm making this, which is a Saturday. They came out and they were someone who commented on my video, and I enjoyed playing with them. They had a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll see them out there again. Shout out to Caleb. But yeah, I don't mind talking with you guys. I really do enjoy it. Just the last little bit of an announcement. I won't be out at Bing next week, which is the week of the 19th. A week before an op, I take that opportunity to get all my gear together, make sure I have all the supplies I need, make sure I have all the equipment that I need, get it together, get it packed away, and pretty much be ready to go by next weekend for Broken Home, which I'll be going to the last weekend here in May, so pretty much 2 weeks from now. I'll be at Oklahoma at Broken Home 7. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. But just to give you an idea of what my schedule is going to be like, I get done with Broken Home 7. Let's go ahead and pull up a calendar. But once I get done with Broken Home 7 on the 27th, I got to go back to work on the 28th. And by the weekend of the 3rd and the 4th, I'm actually going to be taking leave from work and traveling down to the Gulf Coast, where I will be continuing my training with the Air Force at Keesler Air Force Base. I'll be down there till late August. So odds are you're not going to see some of the footage from Broken Home 7 until probably September, just to give you that heads up. Also, you won't see me out at Bing pretty much all summer, since I'll be down at Keesler. But you'll know the second I get back, because it is top priority for me to get back to Bing and get back to playing Airsoft, because this is a hobby I really enjoy. Thanks everybody for stopping by and listening to me ramble on and on. I appreciate it. Throw a like, throw a subscribe, and throw a comment down below, and I'll see you on the battlefield.